Let's get started. Start with listening, and then learn new words and practice them in sentences.
Imagine a race, not just any race, but a race that could potentially change the world. Welcome to the US presidential elections. This isn't a sprint, it's more of a marathon, a test of endurance and strategy. Picture an arena where contenders are not only competing for the highest office in the United States, but are also shaping the destiny of the entire globe. The US presidential elections are a thrilling spectacle that unfolds in stages. It begins with the primaries, a series of state-level contests where candidates vie for their party's nomination. This is followed by the conventions, where each party officially nominates their chosen candidate. The climax of this race is the general election, where the American people cast their votes and decide the future of their nation. This race is not just about who crosses the finish line first, it's about the journey, the strategies, and the profound impact it leaves on the world. So, are you ready to dive into the heart of this race? Let's begin with the starting line, the primaries. In any race, there is always a starting line. For the US presidential elections, it's the primaries and caucuses. These events are the first major milestones in the journey to the White House. But what exactly are they? Let's start with primaries. These are state-level elections where voters choose their preferred candidate from a political party. The winners of these primaries score delegates, who will eventually cast their votes at the party conventions. It's kind of like a pre-election before the big election. Caucuses, on the other hand, are a bit more community-oriented. Rather than casting a ballot, members of a political party gather at local venues to discuss and vote on the candidates. It's a more interactive and engaging process, where neighbors debate and convince each other. But what role do political parties play in all of this? Well, they're like the coaches and cheerleaders, guiding their candidates and rallying their supporters. They organize the primaries and caucuses, ensure fair play, and help shape the narrative of the race. And let's not forget the voters. Their participation is crucial. After all, it's their voices that ultimately decide who gets to run in the final race. They are the ones who make the tough decisions, deciding who they believe can best lead the country. With the candidates chosen, the race becomes even more intense. The next hurdle? The conventions. Like any hurdle in a race, the conventions test the mettle of the candidates. Now let's delve into the purpose of these conventions in the electoral process. Conventions are grand affairs, typically held in the summer of an election year. They are where political parties formally nominate their presidential and vice presidential candidates and finalize their party platform. But these conventions aren't just about the pomp and circumstance. They serve as a strategic platform for the candidates to showcase their vision, charisma, and leadership. It's a chance for them to rally support and solidify their standing within the party and amongst the electorate. Now, let's shift our focus to the role of the media. The media play a pivotal part during this stage, broadcasting these events to millions of viewers. They help shape public opinion, presenting a narrative of the candidates and their platforms. They highlight the highs, the lows, and everything in between, providing a lens through which the public can view these potential leaders. Then, there's the influence of campaign finance. It's no secret that running a successful convention requires substantial financial backing. Funds are spent on everything from securing the venue to creating compelling promotional materials. This money often comes from a mix of private donations and public funding, reflecting the financial might and support a candidate has garnered. After leaping over the hurdle of conventions, the race reaches its final and most crucial stage, the general election. The finish line of this race doesn't just involve crossing a line, it involves a complex system called the Electoral College. The general election, falling on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, is the culmination of the presidential election process. But here's where things get even more intricate. Instead of a simple tally of votes, the United States uses what's known as the Electoral College. Each state is allocated a number of electors equal to its total representation in both houses of Congress, with the exception of the District of Columbia, which is awarded 3 electors despite having no congressional representation. These electors formally cast the votes for president and vice president. It's a winner-takes-all system in all but 2 states, Maine and Nebraska, meaning the candidate with the most votes in a particular state takes all its electoral votes. This is where the race can take a surprising turn. A candidate can win the popular vote nationwide, but still lose the election if they don't secure enough electoral votes. Now let's touch on 2 significant issues in the electoral process: voter turnout and gerrymandering. Voter turnout refers to the percentage of eligible voters who cast a ballot in an election. Despite the importance of voting, the United States often sees a lower voter turnout compared to other developed countries. Various factors contribute to this, including voter apathy, disenfranchisement, and logistical barriers. Gerrymandering, on the other hand, is the manipulation of electoral boundaries to favor one party or class. By reshaping a district, a political party can increase their chances of winning elections, thereby skewing representation in their favor. This practice raises serious concerns about the fairness of the electoral process. The electoral process in the United States is a fascinating blend of democracy and strategy, with its intricacies often leading to unexpected outcomes. It's a testament to the evolving nature of the nation's democratic system, where every vote matters, but not always in the way you'd think. And there we have it, the finish line crossed. But what does this race mean for the United States and the world? The end of the race marks a new chapter. The impact of the U.S. presidential elections reaches far beyond the finish line. Indeed, the race's outcome echoes across domestic and foreign policy landscapes. The incoming president's platform, the promises made during the campaign trail, now begin to take shape in the form of policy. Domestic policies may swing in new directions, with areas like healthcare, education, and the economy often taking center stage. The changes can range from subtle to seismic, reshaping the nation's direction and affecting millions of lives. But the ripple effects extend far beyond the borders of the United States. The president's stance on global issues, from climate change to international trade, can significantly influence the world. Allies and adversaries alike watch closely as the new administration sets its foreign policy course. The outcomes of these elections often redefine global alliances and reshape the international landscape. The elections also leave an indelible mark on societal values and political discourse. The narratives woven during the campaign, the issues spotlighted, and the rhetoric employed can either bridge divides or deepen them. They can invigorate civic engagement or foster disenchantment. They can inspire a new generation of leaders or disillusion them. The elections are as much a reflection of societal values as they are a catalyst for their evolution. And yet, the U.S. electoral system is not without its quirks and criticisms. Voter turnout, gerrymandering, the role of the Electoral College, these are perennial topics of debate. Some argue that these elements add layers of complexity and distance between the voter and the final outcome, while others contend that they are integral to maintaining a balanced representation. The strengths and weaknesses of the system continue to be scrutinized and challenged, and perhaps that is the essence of a vibrant democracy, the constant pursuit of a more perfect union. So there you have it, a race that not only changes the United States but also the world. Democracy indeed is a thrilling race.
Let's learn new words and practice English with the topic, the U.S. presidential elections at level B2. Primary. Primary, an election held to choose candidates who will run for public office. Example, during the presidential primaries, members of each political party vote to decide their candidate for the presidency. Caucus. Caucus, a meeting of supporters or members of a specific political party or movement. Example, in some states like Iowa, the presidential nominating process begins with a caucus where people discuss and then vote for their preferred candidate. Electoral College. Electoral College, the body of people representing the states of the U.S., who formally cast votes for the election of the president and vice president. Example, although a candidate may win the popular vote, it's the Electoral College that ultimately decides the U.S. president. Inauguration. Inauguration, the formal ceremony to mark the beginning of a major public leader's term of office. Example, the U.S. presidential inauguration is held on January 20th following the election, where the president takes the oath of office. Policy. Policy, a course or principle of action adopted or proposed by an organization or individual. Example, voters often choose candidates based on their proposed policies on issues like healthcare, education, and the economy.
Thank you for watching. Like, write a comment of more than 4 words to support us, and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new videos. Goodbye.